never slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever.
Hey team, I wanted to make a video on injury prevention, and because I've recently got a lot of questions, actually questions also from 3 of the athletes that I coach. One is dealing with minor plantar fasciitis, and the other 2 are a married couple, Cindy and Matthew. They both asked, what are some of the recovery methods, some of the things that I do in training to help me recover as well. And so I think that obviously injury prevention, when you're putting in high volume, very intense workouts, all this comes into play with what you're doing the other hours of the day. And they mentioned, some of the things that they mentioned, Cindy and Matthew mentioned in their email to me: ice baths, obviously, Epsom salt baths, muscle stimulation machines. They mentioned we feel like we're throwing the kitchen sink at a recovery with magnesium and doing these other things. Obviously, those definitely work. A lot of athletes don't have the luxury of having ice bath whirlpools like some of these. When I was in college, we would use the ice baths, those whirlpools, but you can still put ice into your tub. And obviously ice baths do have a place and definitely will help you recover a lot quicker. More than anything right now at age 48, what I focus on is really paying attention to hydration and nutrition, really slowing down on easy days and really taking those days as a form of rejuvenation, because really there's only so many times you can push the body hard anaerobically. If you keep pushing it hard in training, there is a higher likelihood you can get injured. And again, the most important thing is when you're training and you feel any type of muscle pain, get to it quickly and don't continue to train on it. Like for me personally, I've recently, the past few weeks, have had a tight left calf and a tight left hamstring. And immediately when I felt the pain, I went to a physical therapist and I got dry needling done. Okay, I cannot recommend that enough, dry needling. In the case of Nathan, who asked the question about having plantar fasciitis, he's dealing with some I don't know how serious it is yet. He said it isn't terrible and I can still run through it, but just wondering if you have any advice on what you've done about it, if you've ever had to deal with it. And yes, I have had plantar fasciitis. Most importantly, the most important thing to keep in mind is to not continue to train on it if it feels like it's becoming a chronic issue. Most important thing you can do, you can still run on plantar. I've had it and I've been able to train through it, but make sure that you're warming. Use a heating pad for about 5 to 10 minutes prior to starting your workout, and then icing your tendon underneath your foot after your workout's done. Okay, I always recommend filling up some styrofoam cups. Put the styrofoam cups in your freezer, wait for them to freeze, and then you can peel around as the ice melts. But you can ice, I would ice for 10 minutes underneath your foot. And so again, making sure that you're paying attention to a mixture of both warming as well as icing after you're done. Okay, as far as and again, more than anything, doing the best you can to run on softer surfaces. If you have the choice, if you have the opportunity, run on grass. If you're normally, if you normally run on the pavement, try to run on if you have the opportunity to run on the softer or on the grass portion of your route rather than running on the concrete or pavement. And plantar fasciitis is rough. It's tough because it's not like you can't necessarily wear like compression. I would also wear compression tights, whether they're half tights or full tights. Full tights are the best. Wear those after your workouts are done. But plantar fasciitis is rough just based on the location of that area. But again, you can still use both a mixture of both warmth as well as cold Nathan, for your particular issue. Make sure you're warming that particular area of the body about 5 to 10 minutes prior to the start of your workout, and then ice when you're done. Also, other types of recovery methods, as Cindy and Matthew asked. I have a Theragun, therapy gun. Those are really great for massage. Okay, I would use those. I use those all the time as well, especially on my calves and my hamstrings that usually get tight, sometimes get tight. But because those are bigger muscle groups, man, you can really feel the difference on using the Theragun. So I would use that as well. If you haven't gotten a Theragun, get one of those. You can find those on Amazon. They're relatively cheap, but those are great too, especially for if you don't want to go to a mesotherapist. Going to a mesotherapist is probably the best, but I mean, it does cost. Versus, or if you're married, in case Cindy and Matthew, you help each other out and for massage after your training workouts, for sure. That's huge. Mesotherapy is great. But yeah, I've used Epsom salt. I've done Epsom salt baths. I've done ice baths. But now, I mean, at 48, it's still, more importantly, most of the things that I'm focusing on now is, I mean, I do use Skins compression technology. So I have half tights. I'm going to order a pair of full tights where I can wear those to sleep. Those are great, especially for the half tights are great for like workouts, but the long tights are really great for sleeping in, and it'll help you recover after the harder workouts. I also think that these everybody's calling them super shoes, but use those super shoes. I have the Nike Vaporfly 3s, and I have the Nike Alphafly 3s. I'm mainly using the Alphafly 3s for half marathon and marathon races, but I'm using the Vaporfly 3s for workouts, tempo runs, track workouts, fartlek workouts. Those types of shoes will help you to recover faster from the training, and it's less stress on the ligaments and muscles of the body. So a lot of people talk smack about super shoes, but they're great for being able to recover faster versus if you're not wearing those in training. Okay, regular easy runs, I wear the Asics Nova Blast shoes, and I also recommend the Asics Super Blast. I have to go out and get a pair of those. I mean, I actually ordered them off of Roadrunner Sports, but they didn't have them at the time, so I had to adjust my order, and I ended up ordering the Vaporfly 3s instead of the Asics Super Blast. But now I think they're available now on the Asics website. So they're very similar to the Asics Nova Blast shoes. They have a huge amount of cushion on the shoes. So a lot of times athletes deal with shin splints or are dealing with other biomechanical issues sometimes because, again, recommendation is to get a gait analysis done. Go to your local running shoe shop, if they do, and have somebody watch you run. A lot of runners run, supinators, and there's some runners will run more, they land, like in my case, I land on the sides of my feet. A lot of runners will run inward with each foot strike. So it just depends on how you run, but getting a gait analysis and getting the proper shoe a lot of times will fix those biomechanical issues. Obviously strength training too, but if you're going to get in the gym, focus more on higher reps and lighter weights. At times you can lift heavier, but again, as middle to long distance runners, you don't want to lift heavy all the time. Okay, but those are some of the things. I think more importantly is hydrating well, getting proper sleep. Those are the types of recovery methods that I use. I mean, without a doubt. I also mentioned in other videos the importance of make sure that if you're feeling chronically fatigued, that you consider getting a blood test done and find out where your ferritin levels are. Okay, even Dr. Joe Vigil mentions with his athletes, he's trained numerous world champions, Olympians, and he places high emphasis on ferritin. If you're running low on ferritin, your body's capability, your cellular capability to transport oxygen throughout your body is very weak. So you can have a high amount of motivation, but if you're running low on ferritin, you are not going to perform well, because again, your body's ability to transport oxygen, and we need, the faster we run, the more oxygen that we need. If you don't have that capability, you're simply not going to perform at a high level. But again, recovery is key. Yes, you can train hard, but if you're not paying attention to what you're doing in terms of the other hours after the track workout's done, after the road workout's done, proper sleep, getting a blood test and finding out if you're potentially running low on ferritin, you can increase your ferritin levels by, and I recommend what Dr. Joe Vigil recommends. Take 1 teaspoon of liquid iron, which is called ferrosol. You can find it on Amazon. 1 teaspoon of liquid ferrosol with 8 ounces of orange juice, along with a 250 milligram or higher tablet of iron. Okay, I have like an iron chewable, which is 500 milligrams. I take that with 1 teaspoon of liquid ferrosol. I put it in my orange juice, just like Dr. Joe Vigil says. And I have significantly noticed how I'm able to run very close types of efforts that I was running even prior to running, right before running 219 for the marathon. I noticed that in my training now versus several months ago when I wasn't really paying as much attention to that. So those are some of the things that I highly recommend if you're dealing with plantar fasciitis like Nathan is right now. Monitor that. Don't continue. If it continues to get worse, the best thing to do with plantar fasciitis, I know it's not the best answer, but proper complete rest is the answer. Nathan is in great shape. He's been doing some great workouts. So I know he'll continue to monitor that, but like I mentioned before, a mixture of warmth. Get a heating pad, warm that area under your foot, and then ice when you're done. And what I mentioned with Cindy and Matthew, they were asked some great questions, and they're all obviously very focused too, as well as Nathan, preparing for they're racing more toward the marathon distance, whereas Nathan is focusing more on the 5K and 10K. Eventually, he's very young. Maybe down in the future here, he'll focus on these longer races, but those are some of the things I would be focusing on. As mentioned earlier, compression device. You can get a Fit King compression device on Amazon. I have one of those. Those will compress. It's a mixture of compression and then it releases compression again, and it'll cover both your legs. Those are absolutely awesome for recovery. Okay, the super shoes, utilize those. If you're feeling chronically fatigued, consider a blood test. Make sure you're hydrating well. Make sure you're sleeping enough. All of these things come into play and will really help you to recover, regardless of what age you are. Obviously, the older you get, the more you really have to focus on this. But those are some of the things in terms of injury prevention tips and running and recovery methods and remedies that I would suggest for athletes that are training for middle to long distance races. Hope this video was helpful for all of you. Feel free to leave a comment below if you're dealing with any type of injury or some of the things that you did that helped you recover. And if I didn't mention before, I think dry needling, I think I mentioned that in this video. Dry needling, definitely consider that. Look into it. If you're dealing with any type of muscular tightness or issues with any type of like sore calves or sore hamstrings, dry needling will fix that in a matter of hours, matter of 2 to 3 days after you get that procedure done. Any physical therapist can do it, but I haven't found anything comes remotely close to dry needling. So definitely I recommend that as well. So feel free to leave a comment if you have any other questions. Like and share these videos. There's a lot of resources below my videos as well as on RunDreamAchieve.com if you're trying to take your training and racing to the next level. There to help increase your likelihood of success. And I definitely recommend those as well. So thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you all in the next video.